Hello, my dear community. Welcome to Lioness Rising, the podcast for sacred business development and soul wealth ascension. And today I'm so delighted to share a very, very, very special woman, Eden Carpenter, who is the guest today to speak about her majestic empire and the vision and also her personal journey of how building it. And yeah, I'm just like super excited for this conversation. And Eden was literally one of my very, very first clients already like almost 3 years ago. She I don't even know how she found me, but she just wrote to me like, "Hey, I'm searching for reflectors," and we got into a conversation and just like invited her to be one of my test clients for Akasha Soul. And this is how we started working together. And now it has already been like almost half a year of sacred pause after we've been working together for a very intense time. So a lot has shifted, and she sits here with a total new glow and uh, a vibration around her. So, like, I give you now the microphone. Share a little bit about you.
Hi, I'm so excited to be here, Lexi. Thank you for having me. We always have fun conversations, and I just love being in your energy, being in your reflector, just your reflector aura. It's fun to play around in. I have been in business for a couple of years. I've done a lot of different things as an entrepreneur. I recently built a very successful business around human design. That's been where I've been focusing my time for the last couple of years. This human design business was what allowed me to leave my job as a registered nurse right after getting my first job as a registered nurse. I didn't last very long there, but it allowed me to leave the workforce. It grew it to a multi-million dollar brand very, very quickly. It provided multiple jobs. I think we totaled over 30 different full and part-time jobs over the last couple of years. And it allowed my husband to retire from his job in the military to pursue more fun things, things that he's more excited about, things he's more satisfied with. So it's been an incredible journey of finding my alignment through just energetic work, through deep healing, and then seeing the business that's birthed from that. And then at this point, I'm in a transition phase where I've actually been called to retire all of the human design educational content that I currently have. I'm burning down a multi-million dollar brand, which is really exciting to just be able to be a role model for people and show them that, success doesn't have to be a stuck point. Like once you get really good at something, that doesn't mean you have to stay there forever. It doesn't mean that you're trapped. And I didn't realize that one of my fears and hesitations and like resistance points unconsciously towards becoming successful was the sensation of, but what if I don't want to do that forever? And if I'm really successful at it, does not mean that I shouldn't waste that talent. I shouldn't waste the success, the time I've put in, the effort that I've put in. If I'm really good at it, if I'm really helping people, then I'm obligated to stay there. So I am being your fun little example over here of you can follow your intuition and you can change your mind whenever you need to, whenever you want to. That's always an option. You are not stuck in something, even if it's good, even if it's been working well for you, even if you've already put a lot of effort into it, you can change and you can pivot at any point. So yeah, I'm throwing a pivot party over here, changing directions and seeing what's next. So that's my info dumping for now.
It's it's so interesting because you've been speaking, you've been sharing, and I was just like literally seeing the 49 Jinky in front of me, like rebirth, rebirth, rebirth. And this is my purpose in life.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
it is.
So and just like you sharing about this process of building such a multi-million dollar brand and deciding, okay, I want to change directions. And this is so potent and powerful because I observed through these years a lot of clients who, or a lot of women who in general were like, um, facing this test, but maybe they didn't went through with it. So because of course it's like for some of them it's maybe such a security blanket, like, oh, how come that it brought you so much abundance and it's so successful that you want to give it up. And I also see it as like we are not totally giving it up, because human design and everything that you've been teaching will be such an important part of you, even if you decide to no longer teach it. And just like from my experience, I spent 1 decade in the tattoo industry and was very successful, very, very successful. And then this business kicked in, and it was such peace to let go. And even like a retired artist is still an artist. And I still tattoo, and I still have clients, and I still have the requests, but it's no longer a primary factor in my life, because before it was 24/7 tattooing. So it's just like bold. I saw this announcement. I was like, okay, that's so bold and brave to be the pioneer, basically, to start this process and an example to go through this. So do you want to share more with us?
Sure. Yeah. What more do you want to know? Do you want to know more about like the decision, what's been going on, what's coming?
What's
What do you want to
coming?
know? What's coming?
What's coming first?
Like start at the end, jump to the good stuff. Yes. So in the past couple of years, I have certified almost 300 people in human design certification, like reading, coaching skills. That's where most of my business success has come from. This massive certification program that has over 400 trainings. It's absolutely insane, and it's what I've spent most of this time working on. And from that certification program, some people have gone on to build wildly successful movements and wildly successful empires and communities. And it's not just a business, there's something very different around it, where it's really this brand, this life force energy outside of them related to human design, but they're not just teaching human design. And a lot of my other certification students and people who have come into my world, people who have started teaching human design, people who have just found human design and have had their lives change from it, what I've seen happen is everyone starts immediately going into, okay, the system is the thing that changed my life. The system is the thing that has the magic. The tool is the modality is the magic. And so then they start teaching human design. And now we have widespread information about human design. It's everywhere. It's so amazing to be able to learn this, on Instagram, on social media. There's so much more accessibility to the information, and there's a lot of different interpretations. But this is the same thing as like conscious awakening. We have a bunch of people waking up and they're like, cool, I know all of these things. But then they get into this space of like, I don't want to mess it up. I know the facts, I know the information, I know the strategy, I know that there's a quote unquote right way. And there's almost this like freeze that happens when people become aware of whether that's themselves, whether that's a diagnosis, whether that is just spiritual awakening. And I'm also seeing it with this movement and this wave of neurodivergency and people being, late diagnosed autism, ADHD, on the spectrum, neurodivergent. Everyone's seeing, I think differently, I operate differently, I don't function the same way that everyone else does. And then they go on to just start spreading more awareness. And so all we're doing is we just have people going, look at this, learn this, learn this, learn this. And information is everywhere, but no one knows what to do with the information. And so my genius, my vocation is in 62.3, which is the language of light. And 62 is this gene key that's very much showing us the difference between intelligence and intellect. So intellect is of the mind. Intellect is actually the shadow of this gate, because that is mentally understanding something, that is understanding the facts, that is understanding the strategy, the logic behind something. But intelligence is heart-led. Intelligence is knowing when to apply information. And so true intelligence is being able to take intuitive action and follow your heart and allow the strategy to support it, allow the strategy to be sound. So it's like heart-led, but strategically sound. And so I feel like people need to see an example of what it looks like to actually apply your human design to your brand, to your business. Because what I understand in a way that no one seems to understand is the level of educate or the level of communication that's really happening when we're talking. It's not just words that are being exchanged. There's so much going on underneath the surface when we are communicating. And so what's coming in the future is I'm shifting into a more personal brand. I'm shifting more into a lifestyle brand. It's just going to be me sharing life, me sharing the things that I am observing, the patterns I'm witnessing. I'm going to just really introduce that for most of April of like, what are my core values? What are the foundations of what makes my world my world? What are the things that you need to know that are just the foundations of teaching? And my goal is to weave human design into this without talking about it. So I want to give people information that is helpful to them, but also allows them to follow their intuition. Because the biggest issue that I have had is when I talk about, the shadows of this center, the shadows of this center, and it makes me so frustrated when people say, okay, I resonate with this, but my chart says this. So what's wrong with me? And I'm like, what's wrong with you is you're not listening to your heart, which is saying you resonate with this, which means this is something that you can address. And so I think that if the information is applicable of like, okay, some undefined head center or just head center themes in general. We're talking about it more as this can be applicable to everybody. And then teaching the actual skill of intelligence, which is utilize your intuition. Yes, you can use your chart that says you may be more prone to this, but it's not a limitation. And so I want to show people that human design can be a really amazing tool. It has so much wisdom for us, but when it comes down to it, we cannot be limiting ourselves with the system. We have to be following our heart. We have to be following our intuition because there's so much information. Like, no matter what logical perspective, you could argue one point one day and then find a completely solid and just as potent argument for something completely opposite the next day. Information is not the point. Information is irrelevant. It's the actual ability to use the information. So yeah, we'll do some lifestyle branding, some like influencer by design. And I think that that will show people who know what human design is, like what it looks like in application, what it looks like in life, what it looks like in business, what it looks like in conscious marketing. I'll be focusing more like lifestyle stuff on TikTok, and then I'm actually going to still be focusing on conscious marketing and communication on Instagram, and almost sharing like what I'm doing on TikTok. This is my reflection of why this is working and why it's not working, things like that. So it'll be some very much behind the scenes. This is what I'm seeing. And I really want to focus on not just creating digital courses. Like this is the reason why I'm retiring a lot of my programs is it's a lot of information. It's my information, it's my perspective, it's my very empowering perspective of the information. But I feel like it is information that leads to people saying, okay, cool, I know the thing, but I don't know it well enough. And then just getting stuck in this, like, I need to know more, I need to know more, I need to know more, because I still find myself doing that. I've been studying the system for 6 years now, and I'm still like, oh, I don't know everything. I should spend more time studying this. I should probably learn that better. I don't have this memorized. And that's not the point of the system. That's not where the magic is. The magic is really in our application of it, our ability to use it in a moment where we're feeling stuck to make a decision that's intentional instead of just responding and reacting based off of the feelings that we have. So yeah, people need to see what it looks like in real life and get out of this, like, I know the loop. And so my goal is I don't want to just be offering courses and education. The information is available, the information is out there, people can find it. I want to create resources that actually help people use the information. So if they're feeling stuck, maybe a podcast or something where they can just, I am confused. How do I deal with this confusion? They can practice using their intuition to see like what resources and tools do I need to help myself in this moment and then move on with their day. So yeah, more practical tools and less Information overload.
Okay. Well, you just basically said everything I what I was seeing, what was kind of going on in the coaching or in the human design industry. Because, for example, I do like to work with human design, and especially I love the gene keys, but I don't even promote them in my work. So, because I'm not a human design coach or teacher, and I'm also not a gene key coach or teacher, but I just use it as a additional tool to inform the clients about, especially human design is about the more, at least for me, this is how I see it, like the mechanics of the aura. It's not a limitation for us. The gene keys I see as a beautiful dance between the shadow and the light. So we're constantly in this dance between like all the shadow, the gift frequency, and the light. And what I was observing, not especially like in the German human design communities, because I have like, I think that 95% of my clients are into human design and gene keys, or like my audience. It's like we are introducing each other with the design and the profile, and maybe the incarnation cross. So what I'm observing is that with people actually literally getting stuck in the knowledge and the analysis paralysis, but they do not know how to embody and apply it in their daily life.
Yeah.
Or they're stuck in analysis paralysis of analyzing their partners, their clients, but as soon as they actually need to look within themselves, they're stuck, they freeze, and like, oh, no way.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like holding a little bit the mirror, like, okay, do you understand yourself? Do you listen to your heart? Because we can, it's just like what I was like, my heresy here, a little bit of my heresy. All these tools are beautiful and we can definitely use it for our benefit. But if we are not taking responsibility for actually what we are the creators, it can be a strong limitation. Because I was working with people who said like, oh, but I'm a generator, I'm here to respond, so I'm just waiting for life to happen to me so I can respond. And then they're like, what?
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
such a limitation. And the same, like me as a reflector, everywhere I was listening, like, oh, we're not meant to work and we don't have energy. And I mean, you spent quite some time with me to know that I have a lot of energy. I'm
Yeah.
I'm very like into work. I love work as soon as it sparks me up, like especially the big mission behind it. So like yeah, I can use some excuses like, oh, I'm a Scorpio and we are supposed to be jealous. So it's like I'm jealous because I'm Scorpio. No, my sorry, but my astrology does not just define for shitty behaviors of mine or shitty
Right.
characteristics. So we can use it like as a beautiful tool to learn and to implement it in our lives, or we can use it and actually get still be stuck. And especially like in this German human design, like which I observe more, it's like they want to learn more, but actually there's no embodiment happening. There's no like actually rebirth happening from the old life into a new life. So I think what you're planning to do is like, or what you are already doing, especially in your role model archetype, the embodied knowledge, um, like bringing it to life, and by example you're teaching them like how to do the same. And this is like what we need right now. We do no longer need more books. Again, I apologize for all my heresies.
Oh, I have stacks and stacks of books over here. I'm over here saying, we don't need to know more, even though I've literally spent the last 3 years saying, okay, I'm going to teach you everything about this. It happens,
Well,
we learn, we change our perspectives, we grow. Yeah.
well, in my experience, like you already have everything within you. You just need to remember.
Yeah, very
Okay,
true.
okay. So I'm already I'm so excited that you're basically here to share this brand new news.
Yes.
And the path of lion is rising. So it's like we are here to change and break the illusions uh, of limitations, like break the chains of illusions that power is outside of you. And it's like the
Yes.
core value of lion is rising. Okay, so how did you build your successful brand?
I built my successful brand by really focusing on the inner work. I think when I realized that I knew all of this information about manifestation, I knew all of this information about even human design and building a business and like all of these things, but all I was doing was journaling about it. All I was doing was making plans about it. All I was doing was making, an outline for my brand about it. And so I spent a lot of time in this like pause space where I knew the information and I just kept like going over the information. I was like, okay, I know the things, I know the things, I know the things, I know the things. And what happened was I really just started playing with and experimenting with my design. It switched from, okay, I know that I'm a manifesting generator to, okay, I'm a manifesting generator and like looking around. I remember very distinctly like looking around at the gym and I remember just like surrendering to how excited I was. I was like, wow, I'm like really excited about this workout. It's good. I'm bouncing around. And there was this voice in my head of like conditioning that was very much, oh, people might judge you. Like you're trying to get attention or you're trying to show off. I'm like, no, I'm just enjoying my workout. I'm an energizer bunny. Like, look at me. I've got all this energy. Of course, I'm jumping around between sets because I'm excited to be here. And so it was just a moment where I gave myself permission to do a certain behavior, to express a certain behavior without the conditions. And so, like, that is deconditioning. It's where your mind says, oh, I want to do this thing. And then your brain says, oh, but the only conditions in which I could possibly do that thing look like this. So you say, I want to build a business. And immediately the conditions pop up to say, okay, but if you were going to build a business, you would have to have this and have that. You'd have to have a big audience. You'd have to have this. You'd have to have that. So I just kind of just said, I'm going to let go of everything. I'm just going to follow this design thing and see where it leads me because it really showed me that I have this undefined G center, which means my path and my direction is going to change. And we're seeing that. I've been in this human design space for a while. I was in nursing before that. I'm shifting again. So I know that overall I'm going to change directions and I'm probably going to do a lot of really big things in my life. That's just who I am. So I've got this permission slip to literally just be myself. So when I have the urge to let go of my nursing job and essentially become unhireable and like let my nursing license expire, even though I still have student loans, like letting that happen and being okay with like, yeah, I'm gonna make it work and moving on to the next thing. So I've really built my business by surrendering to my design and saying, screw it, let's see what happens. And so I actually started playing with my design and learning about human design before I was in this entrepreneurial world specifically. I'd done some fitness coaching before, but never the coaching that I do now. So I was using it primarily for school. So I was focusing on how can I learn best? How can I align with myself and be the best 6-2 manifesting generator nursing student? And so I was an example for my peers. I, made all of my papers. I was writing it like I was writing an example for other people, like I was explaining my notes to another student. I really positioned myself and I started experimenting with my design in school. And through following my strategy and authority, I got this nudge to respond to. It was like, hey, what if I just put some more information out there and started to just do some free readings, just like see how well I know this information, see how well I understand it, see if there's areas where I'm like, oh my God, I don't remember any of that. I want to understand it deeper. And so I put out on Instagram, like, hey, send me your birth information and your email address. Like, nothing sketchy. I'm not going to be, stealing your information or your identity or anything. You don't know me. I'm just a stranger on the internet. but a whole bunch of people responded. And I'd made some digital planners, I'd made some fun resources beforehand, and no one had really ever gotten any of my free offers. And so when 150 plus people said, yes, I want a free reading from you, and were DMing me their information very, very quickly, and then they were responding with like, oh my God, the way that you explain this just makes sense. It just hits me like this is everything that I needed it to be. So I went through this just like responded to that. I kept on doing some readings. I started charging for them. I started getting asked, like, do you offer coaching? So I started putting together coaching packages, and eventually it just grew into me responding. So, like, that's what it looks like to respond. When you're a generator, I think that there's this misconception that, like, okay, life is just going to happen to me. It happens to you, but movement creates momentum. And so a generator is supposed to be taking action and taking little small steps. And so it wasn't that I said, okay, I'm going to build a multi-million dollar business around human design. I said, I want to see if I could make this human design thing work for me. And I made it work for me in the present situation that I was working with. I looked around me and I didn't need to know how to apply it to business. I needed to know how to apply it to what I was doing, which was how do I keep my house clean and stay up on my fitness stuff and stay nutrition? Like, how do I keep myself hydrated and actually like learn all of the things that I need to learn and still enjoy my life and connect with my husband? Like, how do I manage all of the things that I am managing as an adult? That's really where it was applied. And so I stopped looking at like, what do I want to create? And stopped playing in this like fantasy world and just started looking at, okay, what am I actually doing? Who am I actually being right now? Yes, I know about manifestation, but I saw that like all I was doing was journaling about my desires. I was still, sitting at home on the couch, not really taking the action that I needed to be taking. I was just thinking about oh no, you're back.
Okay, here we are again. Something like the world was not ready to hear what you had to say. We're gonna give it another try.
Oh no, where am I starting from?
Uh, movement creates momentum.
Ooh, okay. Yeah, we'll riff on that again. So, movement creates momentum. And so I feel like generator types, I'm a manifesting generator, our strategy is wait to respond. And so really this means that we have to receive before we can create. So generator energy to me is very feminine. And I love this quote that says, if you give a woman a house, she turns it into a home. You give a woman ingredients, she turns it into a meal. That is generator energy to me. You're going to be given something that is the raw material, the very foundational aspect. And so this could be you're given the system of human design. It's facts, it's information, it's tangible, factual things, right? It's just concepts. You're given that, and like I was given that information, and I responded to that. I created a business that has supported hundreds of people, thousands of people since I created it. And so that was, I was given something. I was given an idea, I was given a concept, I was given a nudge, and I said, oh, cool, let me do this in response to it. So, like, that is generator energy. It's where I said, I'm going to respond to this. I am receptive to see like where this leads me. I'm not going to try and define it. I'm not going to try and figure out all of the steps. I'm not going to over strategize it because that's where we really get stuck. I think, I mean, I've worked with people who've been studying human design for years and they will still ask me questions like, okay, but what does it really feel like to follow a sacral yes? And I'm like, okay, so you can recite to me your gene keys, but you don't know what a sacral yes really feels like. Like that is too much information. And so if you're thinking like, okay, what does a sacral yes feel like? You're in your mind. and you are already like in the wrong situation. It's not how do I figure out what a sacral yes feels like. It's okay, how do I turn off my brain so that my body can lead me to where I need to go next? And that shift is really where the magic is, because if you're just taking like, okay, what is the most aligned action for me right now? You always have something to respond to. It's not necessarily you say, okay, I'm a generator, I'm gonna wait to respond, and then you label yourself. It's like labeling your demons. I feel like as soon as people have a diagnosis, they're like, okay, I have anxiety. And then they're like, okay, cool, I have this rabid animal of anxiety that is panicking and freaking out with me. And I'm going to try and domesticate it. I'm just going to keep it. And I'm going to tell everyone, like, ooh, I have anxiety. Like, you have to beware. I have anxiety. It's just on the loose. I have anxiety. And it's like having this animal that's like a wild animal in your house. And you're like, oh, I just live with it. I'm trying to domesticate it. It'll maybe work out one day eventually, but it's like a rabid wolf that really just wants to be set free. Like you need to let it go. You need to like send it on its way. We need to transmute that. Labeling it is not the issue, but like people, ADHD, neurodivergency, you find out you're a human design projector, or you find out your shadow is frustration as a generator. You're like, okay, I'm always going to be frustrated. Or that shadow pops up and you're like, oh, well, of course I'm frustrated. It's because I'm a generator, and you're just okay with the problem. You're like, cool, that's the problem. I've labeled the problem, done. And for me, as soon as you label it, like that's where the work starts. As soon as you label it, like I label something like, oh, I'm frustrated. Yes, I know where I'm starting. My starting point is frustration, and I know what to do about frustration. I know that frustration is telling me that there's something in the situation that I could change that would make it way better, way easier, way more fun, way more pleasurable for me. So frustration is my body telling me, hey, there's satisfaction hidden somewhere in this situation. Can you find it? And for me, like that is so much more empowering. Like that makes me excited to start taking action, to start solving the situation, to see, ooh, where is the satisfaction? Can I find it? Instead of, oh, that's right, I'm frustrated because I'm a generator. That's just how life works. Done, like done with the situation. There's nothing left for me to do. So yeah, I built my business by not necessarily focusing on big picture, where do I want to go? What do I want to receive? I built my business by looking at how I was actually showing up. I looked at who I was being. I looked at the actions that I was actually taking. I approached the situations that I was being given and I responded to the situations that were right in front of me by making some scary decisions, choosing to leave my nursing job, even though my business was just getting started, choosing to, say things like, I'm going to wait on this, or, following my authority when it might look kind of strange, or if it's a client, right, saying to a client, I need to sit with this voice note that you sent me before I have a response to it, even though, the story in my mind says you're supposed to be available 24/7, or you're supposed to be available, they have a question, you need to respond to it right away. But it's really just using the information that's available to you to support that intuitive action. And when you focus on that, the business becomes a byproduct of taking responsibility for your life and you doing that deep inner work, confronting your fears, facing your shadows, seeing what isn't working for you, and experimenting. And eventually the business will become a thing. But if your goal is going into it as, I'm going to build $1 million business, you're going to be in your head of like, what is the strategy for building $1 million business? And then the strategy isn't supporting your heart-led guidance, your heart-led action. The strategy is stifling it. So don't let strategy stifle your intuition. That's my message for the day.
I totally agree with this one. Like, because I share a similar story when I start, it's like follow with the innocence and surprise, um, without following it, it's kind of like, oh, just like stay in your alignment. And I share a similar story where I didn't plan to create a business at all. It just unfolded. Like I started also working on donation, like hey, or for reviews, for testimonials, and step by step it just unfolded. And actually, like in less than 2 years, and the same applies to you. I think you also created in less than 2 years a business which is literally like maybe less than 10% of the entrepreneurs or self-employed manage to do. So it's like, or maybe even less than 2%. So it's a very little amount, and just like by following your design and your or like your heart, your soul, and understanding your design, and also of course everything that comes with it, gene keys, the mechanics, and facing the inner healing. And when I think about my journey, like when I started with healing work, I was never imagining that I'm gonna do it one day also as a healer. Everything that I wanted is just to feel whole again. I didn't want it to have anxiety because I used to suffer from anxiety. I had insomnia, depression, very severe PTSD, and all the doctors were basically just diagnosing me with burnout. They didn't went so far to actually go into my childhood and to see what was happening there. So the healing journey, like when I started working with my healers, it really saved me. And basically, I'm super grateful to be able to help my clients with this. And it's like one of these aspects where I was like popping out lately on my walks, and what I could talk with you is actually really when the people are motivated by the idea of business. So it's like these two camps, you know. One camp thinks like, oh, build a business, become self-employed and entrepreneur leadership. They immediately have this conditioning of, okay, it's extremely masculine, we are here in the leadership, so they have a certain view of it, and maybe our wording and our explanations does not really help to demystify this, because for me, everyone is a leader once they are born, and once they decide to follow their own path, and not follow like blindly the crowd, and also following like being brave and taking out accountability. So everyone can be a leader or is a leader. And this is like one camp, you know, like, oh, they're scared of what's coming, and they're scared of the conditioning, like, oh my God, I don't want to seem like a boss babe. I don't want to be bossy. I don't want to this and this. I'm not gonna have time for my kids, and so on. And then there's another camp, which is kind of like, yes, I want to be a leader. I am a leader, and they force it. Like I say, force because it's just like they move, which is good, but they also kind of force it. They don't accept the divine timing, and they don't. They are not patient to see what's gonna happen. So it's like this moving force happening on this other business. So okay, I need to hire a bazillion business coaches who are gonna help me create a $1 billion empire, right? So and this is where I usually meet with my clients, because I really have the feeling that women who decide to work with me are out of the box. They understand, okay, maybe I already have built this empire, but something still feels off. So they make these bold choices of like, see, okay, it's supposed to feel good, but something is missing. Like, why do I still not feel safe? Why do I still have these doubts? No money on your bank account will make you feel safe if you don't do the inner work. So this is where I feel like, okay, my clients we are meeting on this bridge, okay? Instead of like, okay, I help you create this $1 billion empire through following this strategy. So this is not how I like to work, because I see the fabric of the people and their businesses. It's like this kind of, I would like to say it like dense energies, density in the light body, in this entity, which blocks them. And it's usually nothing with their business. It's just like what comes up because they have been maybe motivated. It's like the business, the success, the money is the carrot, you know?
Yeah.
We're putting the carrot. So we are finally forced in a way to look within. So this is like my too humble sense opinion. Maybe you want to share
Yeah.
your perspective on that?
Yeah, I would love to. So you mentioned the carrot and money being the motivating factor. And what I have realized is that, well, oftentimes we think money is the factor, and we think like, oh, we're running towards this. We're actually running away from the pain of not having it. And so the motivation, like you're describing a hyperactive and a repressive shadow. You're describing that some people see, they come into entrepreneurship, they come into business for themselves, and they say, okay, I am going to pour everything, like I have to work so hard. It's gonna take everything in me. I'm gonna pour everything that I've got at this. And I'm still afraid that it's probably not going to be enough, but I have to get away from this pressure. I have to get away from this pain of the pain of being poor, the pain of living paycheck to paycheck, the pain of being in a job that I don't like, the pain of feeling like I am not free, whatever that pain is. And so they're like, okay, I will do whatever I have to do. And they're just like more, 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 more. But energetically, their state says, and like their actions are saying, whatever I do, it's not enough. And if I want to be successful, I'm going to have to continue to do more and more and more and more. And so, that's where we see people who energetically, they are stuck at a very foundational level in their business because in their perspective, they're already doing everything that they can. And there's no way that they could possibly do more. And so there's this disconnect of like, I'm in pain, I'm stressed. But stress is also, it's like a candy bar as energy instead of, a bowl of oatmeal for breakfast. It's going to give you a lot of energy really quickly, but it also comes with a big crash at the end. It's not a sustainable source of motivation. And so this is why we see people who get to a certain level of success in business where they have been exchanging time for money. They are putting every single bit of effort that they have into their business. Like, I'm going to be successful. I'm going to be successful. I want the money. I want the money. I want the money. And then all of a sudden, maybe like they become successful, the money is there, there's no longer a pressure of I don't have money, and then they have no motivation. Then it's not this energy of like, oh, I want more money. It's like, okay, I have enough money to be okay. But this, like, the lack of fear, that lack of stress makes it so that you have to find a different source of motivation because at some point, even if you are making a lot of money, money is not going to make you happy. And then you realize, like, okay, I'm making millions of dollars and I'm still stressed. I'm still waking up in the middle of the night worrying about this. I'm still, worrying if like I actually have no idea what I'm doing. I'm still questioning if I need to be on some sort of like antipsychotic medication because I'm probably just manic. I'm not intuitive. Just like those kinds of things will still pop up if you haven't done that inner work. And so money will not change who you are. It's a neutral resource that's probably just going to amplify what's already there. And so what I've realized is if you want to feel better about yourself, whatever you think you're wanting to do, whatever you think will get you there, you can work on that, but you also have to create those sensations for yourself. If you think that somehow you're going to make a lot of money and then you're going to wake up every day feeling grateful and like it's sunshine and rainbows, but currently you wake up every day and you're like, oh, I have to get out of bed. I don't want to get out of bed. I know I have to, but I don't want to. And you're like, oh, well, it's already this time. It's like you're just frustrated, you're angry, you're going about your day like I should have done this already. I'm not doing this well enough. If there's all of that guilt and all of that shame that you're feeling on a regular basis, that's not going to go away because some number changes on a computer screen when you log into your bank account. Like I've made millions of dollars in my business. I've never seen the physical paper of it. The only thing that's changed is a number on a screen. That's the only thing that's changed. And somehow that number changing on this very specific screen has changed a lot of other things in my life and in my reality. But physically, like I don't have stacks of dollar bills over here. Money isn't real. It's very much just a number on the screen, but we're giving it a lot of power. And so if you give money the power to have control over how you feel, you will always be a victim of money. will be days when you are making lots of money, but like you're gonna feel bad. There's gonna be days when you don't make the money and you're still gonna be able to, like, you have to be able to regulate those emotions because once you become successful, there's no guarantee that you're going to just continue to be perfectly successful from that point on. You have to manage the ups and downs that can come with that. Yeah, that's my tangent.
Yeah, thank you. I'm like, wow, it's my whole body resonates with what you're saying from the business and oppression shadow and the force basically, and also the money. And I recently, like, I actually, when I was in Costa Rica, I had this download about money, and I love money, and I love what money can do. But I was like, okay, we like money is already dead in a way. It was like it's
Yeah.
maybe another podcast episode ready,
Ooh,
this
yeah.
topic, but basically I'm just going to give a quick thing about it. Like money is already dying out. We are having computers, we are having credit cards, or we are having cryptocurrency. So in my perspective, and I have the line 6 in my pearl, so basically everything, you can correct me if I'm wrong with my interpretation, but the 6th line in the pearl is about nature. So everything, or basically I need money to bring me back to nature is kind of way, but and I dedicate a lot of my goals in terms of business in helping nature or helping the community. But what is this more about? That in the end, the moon will still shine, the sun will go down, the sun will rise, the grass is still growing, the trees are still producing
Mhm.
and doing what they're supposed to do, the birds are still flying. So this is about like, okay, no matter what happens with money, nature is still there and doing what she's supposed to do. Mother Nature, thank you.
Yeah.
And it's like we are healing, we're trying to heal a relationship with something which is already like a dinosaur with fossils. We're trying to, it's because the dynamic, the energy, it's everything about transmuting uh, these money paradigm. And to me, I thought like, okay, actually, in this new world, what we are creating, it needs a new word, it needs a new name. Like it's no longer just money. It's money is already
Mhm.
so old, like and and I came up with sacred exchange because initially this is
Mhm.
what money was supposed to do. It's like
Mhm.
it's this momentum to share the exchange what's happening. And in my perspective, we still need to heal the money wounds because they still
Yeah.
affect us. It's like kind of, if we like, obviously we witch hunts to no longer happen, but we still have the wounds of the witch hunts, which
Mhm.
are still affecting us today, even like multiple reincarnations after and multiple centuries after. We still carry these wounds, and the same will apply to money and abundance, prosperity, wealth, soul wealth, if we don't address them. So it's kind of like we have to make the
Yeah.
shift towards sacred exchange with new frequency of um, wealth exchange, energy exchange, and we still need to heal the old money wounds. What, like, if I just like tune into some examples where women or people are not able to be in a safe environment or to live maybe an abusive relationship because they don't have money. This is a wound. This is
Mhm.
like this money trauma. Um, this is particularly something what I was carrying, like because I grew up in a domestic violence environment, and
Yeah.
I could not give this person money, like please don't hit me. It was not possible. So
Yeah.
what was my first money trauma? What is the use for money? Like it cannot buy me safety, you know.
Mhm.
So it's one topic, and then we have like this new paradigm of abundance, of prosperity, and soul wealth. And yeah, I'm super excited to hear your perspective towards wealth and what is soul wealth.
Mhm. Ooh, soul wealth. I think there's a difference. I'm going to rely on the Gene Keys interpretation here, the difference between wealth and prosperity, because this has been really, really coming up for me, especially as I like make this transition. I'm moving away from really a business that it's like I thought it was service based and I thought it was heart led, and it was, but I've learned information about how to do it differently. And so, I don't, I trust like my actions. I don't want it to come across as like dissatisfaction for the beautiful things that I have created. But I built my business with the intention of, just like sharing what I know and speaking my truth. And what the Gene Keys tells us about wealth and prosperity is wealth is the accumulation of money and you numbers in a bank account. And I remember sitting there with, more money than I've ever had in my bank account, just like looking at these numbers, and I was like, okay, why don't I feel different? Like I thought this was gonna be a magic moment. I thought this was gonna make me feel different, and it didn't. But the moments that have really like hit me and made me like I'm like about to start tearing up like thinking about it. The things that have really made me feel like I am wealthy and like I'm doing something powerful on the planet is when I've like over delivered. It's when I've like given so much and someone is just like in awe and appreciation and then just like gratitude of like, oh my God, like I thought this was gonna be good and like I had high expectations, but this was so much better. And like, that moment where in sessions where someone like has a realization of like, oh my God, I'm not crazy. And I actually believe I'm not crazy for the first time in months or, whatever it is. To me, like that is really what soul wealth is. And so to kind of bring this back to the Gene Keys, it says that prosperity is the circulation of wealth, but it's this exchange of value. It's this service-based business. And so business is really like we're in our vocation, we're really in our purpose when we have found a way where we can be a sacred servant, a sacred individual who has like, ooh, this is the thing that I can give people. And so if mine is I can make people feel like they're not crazy and like they can trust themselves and like they do know what they're doing, they don't need more information, then that's worth it to me. Like that makes my soul feel wealthy. Every single person that comes into my world and like I just get to say like, oh well, what about this, what about this, and just like change their perspective. Every single person, like I would rather have a million people say, oh my God, you've made me feel like I'm not crazy and you've given me my life back, than $1 million, like any day. Like the emotions of just like thinking about that, feeling that in my body is like emotionally overwhelming versus $1 million. Like, yeah, okay, it's money. It's gonna come in, it's gonna go away, no big deal. But yeah, for me, prosperity and this like soul-based wealth is really about doing something where you're making a living, you are comfortable, you feel free to do the things that you want to do, you get to have fun, you are not limited by money, and you are doing something where you genuinely feel like you are making a difference. And like that is fulfillment to me. And I don't think we get to that level of prosperity when it's just about money. Because if it's just about money, we would all be just like drop shipping journals that we made like happy life or you are powerful blank journals on like Amazon or something. There's ways where you could make a lot of money where it doesn't really have a big impact, where there's not really a service element. But if you're listening to this podcast, if you're here in this world, you don't just want to be making money. It's not about the money. It's genuinely about the mission. It's genuinely about being able to help somebody. If you're called to be a coach, it's not about the big money, because if it was about big money, you'd be in like e-commerce. Like you could be in coaching. I feel like there are some people in coaching for the big money, but really we're here because like there's a way to change people's lives with this industry. Like genuinely, genuinely change people's lives. And if you want to be a part of that, then that has to be the focus is, taking responsibility for the powerful work that you do. Because as a coach, everything that you say has the potential to become a loop in someone's brain, like on repeat forever. I've worked with people who, are so hung up on like one thing that their mentor said years ago. Like they were told that they have to be selling every single day. And so they're carrying this deep shame with them around like not wanting to sell every day or being a manifester who has seasonal cycles. And like everything that you say as a coach has so much power. It could literally be the thing that becomes a loop and a conditioned belief on repeat. And so, like, you have to go into that with intention. It's not just about, I'm going to have a conversation with you and you're going to pay me lots of money. It is like you are being given influence and you are being given power when you're in that position as a coach. And so you have to take that seriously and you have to go into that with like, what do I want them to be leaving with on repeat? Like if I'm going to talk to them, I don't want to just fill the hour and say, okay, cool, I sat here and listened to you. I want to give you something that's going to like literally be on a repeat loop in your brain, in your subconscious for the rest of your life. And yeah, like that I think is the power of coaching that people don't see that impact that they have. It's not just like, cool, I'm gonna have a really high level conversation. You'll talk things out in my presence and come up with your own answers. No, I'm gonna send you home with something that is literally gonna live rent free in your brain for years.
Yep,
Yeah.
that's I wow. I was observing it so again for I think I'm sorry for years I've been observing a little death in the coaching industry because um, some people have been misunderstanding their power and also to a certain point misusing it by,
Mhm.
for example, this what you just shared, like being in a loop and actually conditioning their clients instead of like making a little cleans around their conditions and also way different things. But we have power and we're in the public eye, and I constantly say like your business is not about you. So, and we really maybe have a handful businesses or maybe two hands businesses which we can um, put as an example, which are purely service based and not profit based. And I know what Richard Rudd says about because I just recently also listened to his podcast episodes of him where he was speaking about what's the difference between wealth and prosperity and the accumulation of money. And I was like, okay, Richard, I would like to talk with you about this because I have another perspective and it's about the soul wealth. So this is what I'm talking
Mhm.
about, the soul wealth, which does not mean that you cannot create or hold wealth, but the key to our material wealth is found in our spiritual health, is in our soul health and soul wealth
Mhm.
through healing our wounds, our traumas, whatever comes up, like basically, for example, starting a deconditioning process with human design and gene keys, working with a healer, with a mentor, and of trust, and building up the soul wealth. And maybe even through the soul wealth, you will recognize, oh, all my life the world was to make me believe that I need to have at least 1 million euros on my bank account. And now I think like, no, I don't need it. So that's the story about soul wealth and the healing. What I and also when we go into the frequency of the divine, when we go in a little bit higher dimensions, all we like the keys to wealth to actually the keys to abundance have been already implanted into the universe. So
Mhm.
we it's like illusion an illusion that we are supposed to be poor or not wealthy because on this level of consciousness there's just love, peace, light, and abundance, all these beautiful things. And
Yeah.
when we are stepping into this layer, this is where wealth is infinite.
Mhm.
It's probably just our free deconditioning with things like, oh, we are accumulating money. But once we are on these higher divine levels, we see wealth, abundance, prosperity everywhere.
Mhm.
So this
Yeah.
can be our source for creating this new world in our 3D right now.
Yeah, I love that so much. I feel like we're really learning that money isn't 3D with it, to me, it's really like being able to make money on the internet. That to me is money is no longer 3D. Like if that's not making money in the fourth dimension, I don't know what is because, we're talking, I'm just typing and hitting some buttons over here in a room in my house. And I've done that for a couple of years now, and that's somehow like changed numbers on a screen that have allowed me to like make different decisions. Like it's crazy that all of this like digital, like we have this whole digital world, this whole digital dimension that we're working with. And I think that it's provided us a lot more opportunities to attract the material wealth that we want. But I love what you're saying about how, our natural state is one of abundance. And I think that it's really just our conditioned belief and our, collective conditioning that says, if you want to be abundant, if you want to be safe, you have to do more, 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 because we are, spiritual beings, but we still have this human aspect to us, and the human part of us is wired for survival. And money is such a main, like, we don't have other threats. There's not Yes, there are bad people in the world. There are accidents that happen when we venture out in nature. There are people who have bad intentions and just want more power. But we don't really have any just survival threats outside of that. They're not related to money. And so, we have this survival mechanism, this human part of us that just wants to live. And so it is associated money with survival, and then it just triggers our nervous system. But our natural state is one of abundance. Our natural state is one of pure abundance, connection with nature, understanding that, it's like water. There's more than enough water to go around. We can all drink water. It's a recyclable thing. It goes up into the sky, comes down into the oceans. It's moving and circulating constantly. The same thing is happening with air. We all breathe in air, we all exhale air. Oxygen is a resource that's coming to us and, being let go of in an appropriate resource. So is money. And there's just this, like, there's just the couple of wires that we have crossed as a collective around money and survival. And I think it has to do with like effort and self-worth too. Just like a little couple of wires just crossed a little bit, but our natural state is one of abundance. And we have come up with this whole mental problem that we spend our whole lives working on when really we're designed to be abundant. And we're not designed to, we have this conditioned belief of what it looks like to be successful in the specific conditions in which we have to fulfill in order for it to be the right kind of abundance. But all of that is a lie. And really, our natural state is just one of abundance.
Mic drop. Okay, my dear, do you have any last words for the listeners of Lioness Rising before we roll up? Like I was enjoying this conversation, but it really screams for part two. So yeah,
My last words are you already know the answers. You have all of the answers inside of you. And when it comes down to it, you get to use intelligence and you get to use information to support what your soul is guiding you to do. So, logic first, or sorry, logic second, heart first.
heart first. I love it. And how can we find you?
I am on TikTok and Instagram at I am Eden Carpenter. My business website is also just my name, Eden Carpenter. So everything is super simple and easy to find.
Perfect. I'm gonna put the links below so everyone can just join and feel inspired. And thank you so much, everyone, for listening to this episode.